Let's get into the G20 now. It took place in India. India has the presidency of the G20. These are the 20 most powerful nations on the planet. And so they all got together in New Delhi and met with the prime minister, of course, Prime Minister Modi. They met with the foreign minister, Jai Shankar, and we had Anthony Blinken there from the United States, the full quad. Russia showed up. It was an interesting dichotomy. These folks, the last couple of years, because of the Ukraine situation, are not getting along. And they oftentimes want to have at least a resolute front that, hey, all these nations are on the same page, but they're clearly not. And I think what's interesting about what's going on and why I want to bring this up is, India is kind of positioning themselves as the one nation that's trying to get along with everybody. For folks who aren't aware, India's had a long-standing relationship with Russia. They've had a long-standing relationship with Iran. These are nations that currently are in conflict with the United States. And meanwhile, the US, India have a strong defense alliance. You add that with Japan, you add that to Australia, you have the UK involved, France. These countries are working together on defense cooperation, namely to counter China. And meanwhile, Russia and China have an alliance. And I think this is where these topics come in, where you see what's going on the global battlefield, and it boils down to what's happening here at the local level as well.
Well, this is a topic I think the rest of, America especially, and, is not too familiar with. And I'm listening to this and I'm just getting caught up to speed as well. But I think India has a point. At the end of the day, I think what India is trying to say right now is enough with this white Western European narrative that has been continued to be pushed on our country. India is an emerging superpower. Okay, it's the largest democracy in the world. They have decided at this point they're willing to go off on their own if they have to and align with countries that ultimately support India. Okay. And that's just kind of the reality right now. And I think the rest of the world is finally seeing the rise of India here, and they're on notice.
Yeah, I mean, the dichotomy is fascinating because S. Shankar, the external affairs minister for India, I think has used the most kind of strong language that I've seen of any Indian diplomat. If you interface with Indian government officials as we have, through our reporting, virtually all of them are very affable, kind, genial people. They try not to say one syllable out of place. That's like the typical Indian diplomat trying to get along with everybody. But Jai Shankar's made some very pointed remarks about how he thinks India is the center of the world, which he was kind of being jocular there. But at the same time, it shows a change in approach. Like, hey, India is the country that's growing. India's on the rise. You do want to and need to work with us. And of course, I think America, from an American standpoint, it shows that America's not quite doesn't quite have the footing it once had, right? Because we've had these conflicts in the Middle East that have gone awry. We've had all of these issues for decades, intervening in foreign territory. And I think these countries now are advanced enough. There's enough communication out there where they're like, hey, we don't have to listen to America. America can't just give us a few $billions to shut up any longer. We have an economy and we have a population that's on the rise, and you got to work with us.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the case moving forward. And I think America's clearly lost its luster when it comes to the rest of the world.
Well, we're going to monitor this because I know Jai Shankar and Blinken are working on a lot of different initiatives between the U.S. and India, and that's why I wanted to bring that to your attention because India generally was able to get consensus, and no consensus came about during the G20. And some people think that India looks bad because of that, but the Ukraine situation continues to be a huge sticking point, and it's something we'll continue to monitor. And of course, America continues to invest in this conflict. America spent billions of dollars, and this is just after we pulled out of Afghanistan.